Hello, good morning, Sir David Porter.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Uh, Welcome on. This is Impact Money, where we talk money in the morning. And I'm David Michael Porter. It's February 2nd today, 2024. And it's Friday, baby.
It's Friday, baby.
Yep, we
Welcome, Texas and Louisiana. Thanks for joining in on your television sets. We always appreciate you guys coming on. And we have a wonderful hour ahead of us on the Impact Money Show. Really, a lot. There's a lot to talk about. A lot. Yes. As everything goes. So, one of the things I think that, and let me just get this out here, that is really popping out at me is now with this Fed coming out hawkish, how things are starting to rebound. We had a sharp decline, of course, on different assets. As everything started, as he comes out and says he's not going to lower rates, and then of course we had now things are gaining, because the fact of the matter is everything was gaining anyway. So he comes out hawkish. He's not going to lower rates, but everything was gaining. So of course I don't think we're going to miss much of a. We're not going to miss much of a beat. What do you think?
Well, that seems to be the gist of it, right? The Bitcoin market is holding on, and it is the future. We see that. It's very clear. So for it to go down, it doesn't make too much sense for it to go too far down when everybody knows that we'll continue this market. It's going to continue to grow. It has another 10x from here. I'm not a financial advisor, but I've been watching this thing for since it came out, really, and then we got involved in 2013. So it's been a heck of a ride, and I'm looking forward to Matthew Dixon's analysis using AI's platform. It's pretty sweet, and you should get yourself a premium membership there if you want to stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah, it's a great platform. I always love that they're using AI and machine learning there. Check that out at eve.io. Yeah, a lot. There is a lot. I'm going to go ahead and, as I normally do, head over to my my Twitter feed here and talk about some of the things going on. Yeah, one of the interesting things is that Trump's January 6th trial has been taken off the docket, which is pretty
that's
interesting.
very interesting. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. What's their play there?
What is their play there? David says. What is their play? Okay, so actually I didn't post that. I decided just to put it in our title. But so this post right here from Anna Paulina I thought was pretty telling. So this is Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna. Within hours of my office sending a letter asking Jack Smith to produce information regarding his investigation, his case against Trump is removed from the docket. Jack Smith owes the American people and Congress answers. Yeah. This is what she asked for. All documents and communications concerning your authority to impanel a grand jury in the United States District Court for the District of Columbia and the Southern District of Florida. All documents and communications concerning your authority to offer immunity pursuant to 18 U.S.C. 6002 to individuals testifying before either grand jury. All documents and communications concerning your authority to seek the return of an indictment from the grand jury, including to threaten the return of indictment through a target letter. And then all documents and communications concerning an oversight by the Department of Justice regarding any of these topics, specifically including but not limited to all documents and communications exchanged between your office and the department concerning your decision of the indictment of Trump. And of course, Charlie Kirk, Charlie and I have known each other for a long time here. J6, looks like he won maybe broke the story. Removed from the DC. Now, this is kind of one of those things. So, all right, it was removed from the docket. That doesn't really mean a whole lot, I feel like. You know what I mean? I mean, it could mean something or it could not.
Yeah. Basically, they said it's irrelevant to the current case that they're looking at.
Well, the J6 case against Donald Trump has been dropped from the court's public calendar. It just means it's off the calendar. It doesn't mean it's dropped, period. But interesting stuff they have going on. You also have, of course, this Judge Erdogan, who is now saying that he will delay the ruling. And he is actually I did post that online. He is thinking about a lifetime ban. Business ban. Verdict delayed in the Trump civil fraud trial as Judge Erdogan weighs lifetime business ban.
Yeah, that's like which business,
Well, I
it's
think
funny how they do these.
I think they're talking about business in New York. I think that's the deal. Business in New York.
I don't think that they can ban. Maybe they can ban a single entity of a corporation, but you can just open a different corporation and operate your business as usual.
I mean, certainly, you can have a shell and a shell and a shell. I mean, I don't think he's going to be able to ban Trump. I mean, who knows what these guys are going to do? It's pretty crazy. What we've seen so
crazy far. To try to come out with this dictatorship of a ruling.
It is. I'm surprised even he's. I mean, I guess it's good that he has. I wouldn't say played along, but I'm not sure if in his position I would have been quite so.
Sometimes I think they shoot for headlines. It's the clickbait.
That's a good point. It's clickbait, it's headlines. So the markets are looking pretty good. They're looking all right. It will be interesting to see what our friend Matt has to say. Oil and other things. Let me go back to my my tab here. Let's see. Silver holds gains. Silver holding gains up about 30%. It's up 1% on the week, which for silver is not bad. This is pretty interesting. I'll go back to that. Gold is holding gains at 2,071.90. So it's actually, this is the daily chart, but it's up on the week. Pretty nice. Natural gas up over 1% at 276. It has been choppy these weeks. I want to start trading natural gas. This one looks like fun. It's a fun one. Crude oil is up about 1% after siding with the Fed meeting. Bitcoin is up now. The live price is up over this. Let me just check here real quick. And while I'm doing that, Dow futures are flat, as you can see there. In price. So yeah, Bitcoin is about there. It's hopping around. Well, here we go. Yeah. So this is more of a live price, 43,150. We could see a nice run up. We'll see. Very speculative. Bitcoin and other cryptos, very speculative markets. Be careful. Don't trade more than you're willing to lose. As we always say, we're not financial advisors, but this hedge against what's going on in the world and the printing up of money, I think, is very important. Thanks for joining us on Smart Money Culture TV. Of course, our man Fly Mackey, I've been having a lot of conversations with him lately. Fly Mackey, the man with the plan behind the Smart Money Culture TV, and we are growing. He's going to be out at the Super Bowl. I told me he's going to the Super Bowl, and he's meeting with some more investors, and they're growing this thing. People are excited about it, and there's something about being on TV that is pretty cool. TV is different. You put the TV on and then it kind of goes in the background,
Oh no, it goes on the forefront. It's not a background. It's mainstream. And I know it's been a lifelong journey for a lot of people, and it feels great to be here. So thank you for having us on. And
yes.
Like you said, we are growing this thing. We're working along with Fly Mackey, so you can reach out to us if you want to get involved on the network, if you have a big show or you have a product that you would like to create a commercial for. We're on the 4th largest economy in the world right now, and we are looking to expand. So give us a ring. Bruce's number is easy to find, and call Bruce because I like my peace and quiet.
Call Bruce, he says. Yeah, reach out to us. You can also go to smartmoneyculture.tv and contact him then there, and contact us there, I should say. All right, let's bring on Sir Matt, see what he has to say about everything.
Hello. Hey, good morning.
Matt Dixon, hello, how are Matt. You?
Yeah, good morning. Very well, thank you. Good to be with you again. So, yeah, as we said, I think we intimated yesterday that the markets, despite the Fed trying to put a dampener on the mood, that the markets are ignoring that and they're pushing up. I think the Fed were trying to probably rein in these the markets, the risk assets, the S&P 500, the Dow, the cryptocurrencies. I think that they're basically trying to stop asset prices getting too far ahead, because we are headed for recession and they are going to come back, and maybe they just want to control things at the moment. But they're actually, with what they're doing, with the actions they're taking, the recession is far more likely, and we will see that slowdown coming. So the Fed said there's not going to be any rate change by March, but I think there'll certainly be talks of changing rates by March anyway. So let's just see what happens there. So I'm going to share the screen right now and look at a couple of the charts to show where we're at. Sorry, we've got some workmen here distracting me.
You getting some stuff done?
But I'm sharing my screen, and I hope you can see my screen there.
Yes.
Great. So what's interesting, first of all, is we've got a very green day there. If you look on the right-hand side, these are the percentage changes on mainly cryptos. I've got the S&P 500, oil, DXY as well. But other than that, virtually all of the cryptos are up except for one, XRP. And I assume we know what's just happened with XRP. Chris Larsen just got hacked, didn't he, for $112 million. So the worry was that it might have been actually Ripple itself that was hacked, but it wasn't. He's a co-founder of XRP, Ripple. He was hacked for $112 million, and a lot of it has already been laundered through multiple cryptocurrency exchanges. But obviously, with it being blockchain, you can actually track these things. Now, I know Binance have already blocked, I think it's about $4.3 million that they tried to launder through Binance. And all of these exchanges can block these transactions as soon as they know that it's something fraudulent, and they can track them. So that's the good thing about blockchain. But that's why you'll see, of all these cryptocurrencies, XRP is down at the moment. But as I say, the news is it's not XRP itself that was hacked. It's not the XRP ledger or anything of that sort. It was just Chris Larsen's own personal account was hacked for $112 million. So that's the big news in crypto.
Dude, yeah. I think his stomach is turning.
Yeah.
112 million. Whew.
Yeah. So, yeah, a little bit frustrating to see because there were some positive signs coming out of XRP from a chart perspective. And I think what we'll do today, we've looked in detail the last few days at the economic fundamentals, what drives markets, what the Fed are doing, and so on. And I think it might be good today just to have a quick look at some of those assets and just see how they're reacting and look at those interrelationships between them. So we've said all along that dollar index, basically when the dollar falls, cryptocurrencies and risk assets rise. And that's what we've seen here. We're looking at the daily chart. And so this daily candlestick here, the big red candlestick, is where we started to get a pump higher. So we got some pretty bad news really out of the Fed. When I say bad news, it certainly wasn't, it was slightly hawkish, if anything, saying they're still going to be vigilant about inflation, even though inflation's falling and so on and so on. So basically no interest rate falls coming our way, so that's not good for risk assets. But then following that, I did expect we'd start to see some dollar weakness, even though it's what you'd think would be strong for the dollar if they're saying we're not lowering interest rates. But often you get the inverse. And I think the markets are actually seeing through the Fed here, because the markets do know that we're heading towards recession, and they do know that we're going to be printing more money. And they do know the Fed are going to be forced, they're going to have their arms twisted, they're going to have to lower interest rates sooner rather than later. You know, it may even be as early as March, let's just see. But things are going to turn around, I believe, and the markets are seeing that in advance. And that's why we're seeing dollar weakness, and this is positive crypto and risk assets. So we're running through those assets. There's some great gainers there. Solana, again, fantastic gainer today, 3.89%. Bruce's favorite, wow, look at that, 8% on ICP. So we'll have a look at those individual charts. But here, as I said, DXY, dollar index, coming down at the moment. That means that people basically want to find better places to invest their money to get better returns. So they put money into risk assets when the dollar falls in value. And that's why the risk assets are rising at the moment. And then we look at oil. Oil has been, following our trajectory really well. We think we're on a 5-wave count and we're moving down towards this 5th wave here. And as we're moving down, that means it's good for business. Inflation will come down. It's cheaper for people to heat their homes, etc., etc. So it means there's more money available to invest in risk assets. So this is a good sign. And that's why, again, we're seeing all this green, nice green print across the cryptocurrencies and risk assets. So S&P 500, once again, looking really good, had a really strong day yesterday. And again, we're looking at moving up in a 5th wave here to the upside. So I think there's probably more room for upside here with the S&P. As I say, I think we're actually probably on a bit of a run at the moment with risk assets. Waiting for the Fed to actually react to a weaker economy. So I think that will happen. Now, interesting one next is the pound against the dollar. Do you remember I said a couple of days ago that the pound is very tightly correlated with cryptocurrency? When the pound goes up in value, crypto usually goes up in value. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. So we it's a bit choppy all around the Fed news, not knowing quite where to go. But now we're seeing the pound strengthening, even though we've got an abysmal economy in the UK. Things are going really badly. But this just tells you the markets can see ahead, and they can see that the Fed will have to lower interest rates in the future. And so sooner or later, we're going to start to see much weaker dollar for a while at least. Anyway, so this upward movement in the pound correlates very nicely with cryptocurrency, and we have seen some good recoveries. If we move on, in Bitcoin yesterday, Bitcoin is pretty flat, but from the from when we got the news out of the Fed, things have been moving up very slightly. Bitcoin is looking good again. We've got that very typical thing, wave count we're now probably quite used to. We're working on the 5th wave to the upside. So that 5th wave should take us above this 3rd wave that we have here. And the 3rd wave peaked at 48,900 or 49,000-ish, somewhere around there. About 49,000 was the peak just recently. We've had a pullback, corrected pullback in 3 waves, and then we're moving up, and we're going to move above this peak, I believe. So we are headed into the 50,000s at least on Bitcoin in the not too distant future. We may have had 5 waves up here. We could be getting some choppiness in this wave 2. Wave 2 may not be complete, but we are, I believe, going to be heading towards the upside to complete this wave 5. Same sort of thing with Ethereum again. You can see a movement down and maybe chop around a bit. But again, we're going to push above this previous recent high of 2,700. So that's all looking very constructive. Solana's been amazing, and this is kind of my chart of the day, I think. I really like Solana. It's that token. We've covered it before. When the markets go up, Solana goes up more. So it's a really good token in a bull market. And the reason it's looking really bullish, the wave count is showing us that we've got from the bottom, we've got a blue wave 1 up, a blue wave 2 down. Then the blue wave 3 up here is itself made up of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in red. So we've had wave 3 up. We're now working on, we've worked on the wave 4 down, which appears to be an ABC down, wave 4, which is probably complete. And now, like the other cryptocurrencies, we're working on a 5th wave higher. But Solana can be really impulsive, and we could easily see, you know, $180 on Solana, and we're $100 right now. So you're talking potentially as much as an 80% move. Now, we're not saying jump into it right now. You've got to use your risk reward and use your senses and don't risk everything, because nothing is nailed on, nothing's certain in the world of trading. But Solana, amongst crypto assets, is at the moment one of the favorites. Different ones are different favorites at different times. ICP has been one of them, and we'll move on to ICP. Has also been a great favorite, fallen in and out of favor, and that's what they do. But at the moment, Solana seems to be the one that's in favor, or one of the real ones in favor, and we've had a really good move today. Now over 4%. We were saying 3 point something, you know, a few moments ago. It's now over 4%, so it's really pumping very, very nicely. And 4% in a day, and when you think about that compared with traditional assets, you know, your deposit account, yes, this is highly volatile and highly risky. So you've got to bear that in mind. But this is more than a year's worth of interest in your deposit account. So
yeah, in a day. It's crazy. It really is. I remember one of my friends talking to, well, you know him, I guess I won't drop his name on the air, but yeah, he was like, oh, you know, I think it was 12% he was paying or something. And I was like, is that a month or is that a year? Those are the numbers we deal with in these markets.
Yeah. So next one, we move on, XRP. So XRP, it's still looking, although we've had some choppy movements down, it doesn't look impulsive because all these are overlapping waves. What that means is an impulse like this on the left, if I show here, an impulse, these waves don't overlap. So you got one wave up and down, next wave up, and the pullback doesn't overlap the previous peak that you had. So in general, you can get a really strong movement upwards without overlapping. But here, on the downside, you get the move down, the move up, the move down, the move up, overlaps the previous move down, and this one overlaps it. It's all overlapping. So this is what's called corrective, and it's against the trend. This is what's called impulsive, and it's normally with the trend. So what that's telling you is that the trend, although we've had this downward movement, is still probably to the upside, because this is impulsive, this is corrective. And all these shadows, what they call wicks, candle wicks below, are also indicative of potentially the market will move higher. So looking at these last 2 wicks here, these wicks or shadows, a long shadow to the downside means the market tried to go lower, it tested lower, but it failed to go lower and actually closed higher up. Same here. And this is what's called a hammer candlestick, and it's a very bullish kind of candlestick. So I believe that most probably we're going to head higher from here. So the overall chart formation, just from the overall look of it, being impulsive to the upside. Then we look at individual candlesticks, and we look at the overall candlestick picture. There's a lot of shadows, big shadows to the downside, is telling us that the likelihood is that we're probably going to be moving higher in XRP in coming sessions. So it's not the biggest or strongest mover. As I say, at the moment, those two are held by ICP and Solana for me. but XRP still has tremendous potential, and it has a history of when it does break out, it breaks out in a big way. Next one, Litecoin. I know Bruce particularly likes Litecoin. It's not quite so impulsive as many of the others. It is slightly in positive territory today, 0.3%, but you can see there again, very, very choppy, although I'd still say we're probably going to be headed towards the upside. So in general, I think we are headed for some upside in the markets, but we'll look at ICP, this amazing one that, I mean, I have to take credit for telling Bruce about this one because we sat down, I remember sat down in the office.
Back then.
Nice job, Matt.
I ran through this with Bruce, telling him all about the project, all about the people involved with it, all about the science and technology behind it and the potential, and it hasn't failed to, well, it certainly hasn't disappointed, hasn't failed to impress. So today now, 8.58% so far today on ICP. And as I say, yesterday we had that perfect move down, ABC move down, which is corrective. It's 3 waves and it's overlapping. That's just what we've been talking about. The impulses are to the upside. So you get these strong movements to the upside without overlap. So that tells us the direction of the impulse is still towards the upside. Because this is ABC, we would expect movement at some point in the near future to take us above this high here of $16, $16.3, somewhere around there, and maybe much higher. So what I would do as an analyst is actually break this down, look at different time frames, and I'd look at Fibonacci extensions and just see where the likely projection, where it's likely to be projected to move to. So it was very, very accurate previous time. So for example, we've got a projection here, which gave us the exact peak here. We got another projection giving us the exact peak here at 2.618. You don't normally get more than a couple of Fibonacci relationships within a particular cycle, but you can actually break it down into smaller cycles and look for those relationships. So all in all, it's looking good. Injective is another great token that I love. It's an AI token. A little bit, when I say a little bit like, I mean, eBay, our own token, is an AI-driven token. And this is really a buzzword for this particular year. I think it's a year of AI, and I think it's going to be a really good year for a lot of the AI tokens. BNB, obviously, it's the Binance token, looking really good there. I'll just whiz through. One that I've been watching lately, Link, has been a really nice one. You can see some really good impulsive movement there. So we had the correction down already. So I think Link is actually a little bit ahead of some of the other tokens in moving up in this 5th wave, because the correction is already complete and we've already moved above the previous high. So if you remember in some of the previous ones I was looking at saying we're going to move like ICP, I'll just flip back to it. I said we're going to move above this previous high here because we had the high and then the correction down and we're moving up over that high, we should be. So with Link, it's actually running ahead. We've had the high, it's pulled back in the correction, and we're already pushed to above that previous high. So that would have been resistance. We pushed straight through that resistance, burst above it, and it's looking really nicely towards the upside. And there's plenty of other amazing tokens there. You know, there's lots of different tokens that I follow, but I'm just saying, all in all, I think things are looking bullish at the moment. And I think we've got a bit further to go. I think the S&P, I think, you know, oil, the dollar index, they're all telling us that. And the S&P, again, no particular reason. We've got a massive bullish engulfing candle here, looking fantastic. So likelihood is we should continue with at least some more upside. But again, we need to do our projections to try to ascertain where. But again, this was just amazing. If you followed it, this first wave up, you measured it, transposed it to the start of the B, gave you the exact end of the wave 3 here, which was perfect. Then we got a wave 4 and wave 5. We may be getting towards, you know, maybe not that much further to go. So what I would look at is internal wave count here. I'd look at a shorter time frame and try to project the top. But just for the time being, it looks as though we certainly do still have higher to go. And even as we speak, and see XRP is clawing its way back. It may soon be in positive territory like all the rest of the tokens there. So this hack, you know, clearly it was a personal hack, not a hack of the actual XRP ledger. So I don't think it's a major issue. So I think XRP will recover and give us some great performance. And then just finally, ICP, we were talking 8% a minute ago. It's now over 9%. So even while we're speaking, it's already gone up again. And Solana, again, rocketed 4.38%, gone up some more. So there's just a quick sort of run summary of some of the top cryptos that people trade. And we'd be happy to look at any others, if anyone wants to drop in any particular likes or favorites, I'll happily run through them and do a more in-depth analysis. This is just a very superficial analysis of the market. Following that miserable Fed day, I wanted to give some positivity.
Well, the markets are definitely looking pretty positive at the moment. These markets, anyway. Let me just look again at the Dow futures, and that is not always an indicator, but the stock futures are the Dow futures are flat, slightly up, but yeah, crypto looks pretty primed. I think that especially with everything going on in the world, it's just the uncertainty. As you say, people kind of look for these risk markets, and these markets were all gaining anyway before the Fed came out. And I do think if he came out and was dovish and lowered rates, that the markets would have really just spiked up, and that was probably one of the reasons why he didn't, like you said, because he knows it's going to come down. And
maybe we can understand the fact they maybe do want to hold markets back a bit, because the markets are, they're at all-time highs, and there's one. Obviously, they can still continue to go higher and higher, but at all-time highs, there's obviously a big risk of potential downside. And if you look at valuation measures right now, some of those valuations are beginning to get a little bit stretched, and so there is potential for downside. So maybe they just want to keep a cooler on the markets a little bit. But the problem is, as I say, this does lead towards this sort of all or nothing approach with the markets, that basically they're going to wait until inflation is really beaten, but then when they act, actually when you raise or lower interest rates, there is a known lag effect. Economists know there's a big lag effect before it actually affects the economy, and we can read what it's done to the economy. And so by the time they get inflation down to the 2% target, it's too late to lower rates. That means you are going into recession. And I don't know why they always do this. As I say, there must be some logic behind it somewhere, but it just means that we are going to have to suffer another recession this year.
Yeah. Well, and, like I said, with everything going on, I mean, we have, I guess Ukraine, they hit one of the Russian ships. They sank it. It looks like they lost everybody. It's poor guys. Prayers for their family and everything, for all of them. They sent out some ships, some rescue ships, and they weren't able to get anybody. And then, of course, Damascus was just hit by Israel. All that stuff is gonna just heating up. I mean, of course, we do have there's talks of a ceasefire and all these types of things, but at the same time, it doesn't mean anything when the bombs are dropping. And then, of course, you got the Houthis.
They talk peace and ceasefire on the one hand, when they're definitely double talking, because on the other hand, you just see the European Union given, I don't know how many, I think it's hundreds of billions, of some massive, phenomenal amount of money that we can't even imagine how much money it is they're given to Ukraine. So this is going to continue, because Ukraine were kind of on the back foot. I know America have pulled back a little bit in terms of funding and helping out there for good reason. And now Europe have stepped into the breach and they're funding Ukraine. So the problem is, if you were to back Russia into a corner, a cornered animal is the most dangerous animal. And that's the danger. If they keep, as Bruce has said many times, they're far better to talk than to fight over this and try to find a peaceful resolution, because, war doesn't really benefit anybody except the profits of the arms manufacturers.
Which and those profits are very high, as they are. We've replenished now all the different supplies, all the different armaments that have been sent to the Ukraine. I don't know if I publicly said it or not, but I'm very familiar with the business. And I said, well, we're going to give them all new stuff. That's why they're donating it. They're not donating it. They're sending it over, and then we're sending them new stuff. And so those contracts have a lot of them have been filled, and that's why we did so much. We had record arms sales here in the U.S. So crazy stuff. Matt.
Okay, so it was $54 billion, the aid to Ukraine that was given by the European Union, just signed off by the European Union.
It's massive.
Hungary objected to it, but it's now been passed. So that's a lot of money, which, to fund the war, basically, I guess.
I mean, it's a huge number. It's a massive number. It's even yeah. And then, of course, they also passed 7.3 for refugees or something like that.
Yeah.
So the euro is going to. You guys are about to get inflated a lot. That's how they're going to pay for all that.
Yeah, I mean, everywhere around the world is actually suffering slowdown. We know for a fact China is, and the Chinese government have pumped a lot of money in to try to reinflate the economy. They didn't support Evergrande, which they've allowed that to collapse. But overall, they're pumping money into the economies to keep things going. So they've kind of pulled back a little bit. So money supply is falling back a little bit in the US. And they're doing what's called QT now. So we have QE, which is quantitative easing. And right now they're doing quantitative tightening, which is basically pulling money out of the economy effectively. So, but that won't last long. As I say, as soon as recession starts to show its ugly face, they'll be printing again like crazy, more than they've ever printed before. So then let's just see what happens to currencies and to fiat and Bitcoin. It'll be interesting to see.
And I also want to say they really haven't stopped the printing. They've just done some policies that are now tightening as well, of course, with interest rates. And as I talk about as well, they'll pull out of the different commodities. But yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that is a big number. I just go back to the Europe number. That is a big number. We don't normally see those types of numbers coming out of Europe to support a war effort in like that in the Ukraine. So that's pretty interesting. Now, you were talking these parliamentary elections in the EU. How do those work?
I mean, we're no longer part of the EU, but basically they do. There is a vote where you can vote for your MPs. So in the UK, when we used to be part of Europe, we could vote for our European parliamentary members, and they would be part of the European Parliament. So I'm not that much up. I mean, on European parliamentary system, there is a lot of, as you say, there's, for example, with the central bank, the ECB, they're just appointed. They're not really voted in. So it's not as democratic as you might think. And there's a lot of control, particularly by Germany, I think, of the overall economy. I mean, obviously Brussels and Germany as well. So I don't see it as being a particularly democratic institution, Europe, because they impose stuff across all of these countries. And as you say, you don't really get representation, proper representation. We talked yesterday about the Southern Med countries who have really suffered. I mean, they basically, they've kept a very, very strong currency, which for these Southern Med countries, they need to be able to devalue their currency to stay competitive, but they can't devalue their currency. So it means they basically do fall into recession. And that's why you got that. Remember the financial crisis where Cyprus had to be bailed out?
Oh, yeah.
And this is what happens when you really squeeze these economies, which aren't able to compete with something like Germany that has so much higher productivity. So it's not a good system. And as I say, personally, I think it's good for UK that they pulled out, but the UK has got enough problems of its own anyway. But actually, UK economic performance is now beginning to top a lot of those European countries, even Germany. Germany is really stagnating. UK is stagnating, but slightly better. So they're all in a mess. But I think UK are in less of a mess than most of Europe at the moment. And that's why you're seeing, again, a lot of unrest across Europe, all these farmer riots that you mentioned and showed the other day. It's all because everybody, jobs are tough right now. America's actually the bright spot in the world in terms of jobs and employment. To be fair, America have done very, very well in maintaining and keeping the unemployment count really low. What is it? 3.7% is it right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of fluff. I know you're on the other side of the world. It's a bit of fluff, I can tell you. Even my friends that work for the big places like the CIA and the FBI and stuff like that. I mean, there's they've been in the job market over the last bit, so that is unusual. It's not very usual that people like that are looking for jobs. So they keep those numbers up. Obviously, we're still the strongest economy in the world, but for what we're used to, it hasn't been good. I think it's a little bit of fluff on those numbers.
America is the workforce. So people go to America and they expect to work, full time.
That is true. People come here and they want to work for the most part.
Yeah. So that's an example. You're talking about, what is it, 3.7%, maybe a bit of fluff around there, but somewhere around the 3.7% unemployment rate. So if you looked at Italy, for example, that's 8.09% unemployment. So Italy has more than twice the rate of unemployment than the US. And that's why
easy life in Italy, life in quite a few of these especially across the southern region.
It doesn't cost much to live in Italy. You have a lot of older families with households that are, you have the family that lives there. It's not really like that so much in the U.S. You don't have people don't live with their mom and dad so much or their family. It's a much more fast economy. We burn it, we make it, and we burn it. You know what I mean? It's different. Not saying that you're not correct, because obviously you are, but it's certainly off what it has been in the past.
Yeah, it's different. There's positives and negatives on both sides. So it's great to have the family values that there are across large parts of Europe, as you say, living with parents looking after grandchildren, all that kind of thing. That's fantastic. So
it's fantastic.
Not always a good thing. Advance isn't always good.
I know.
That's one thing I said the other day, was that you don't see so many elderly people working in Europe, working regular jobs, but you do see that pretty frequently in the U.S.
And actually, to be frank, a lot of them enjoy it. They really, we have a society that likes to work more than other places. I'll tell you where the economy is very good is in Texas. The economy is great in Texas, and I know we're on TV there in Texas, but fourth largest economy in the world, Texas.
I think there's 1.8 trillion spendable dollars out there.
Yes, 1.8 trillion. It's crazy numbers. A lot of that, of course, has to do with the influx of people there, but also oil and other resources that they have there. So, pretty interesting. Sir Matt, always a pleasure.
Absolutely. So, thank you again for having me. I'm just double checking on ICP, falling back a little bit, but still well above 8%.
Yeah, there you go, man.
Yeah,
very
a good day anyway. Thank you very much for having me. Enjoy the weekend. Have a little bit of a rest and break, and look forward to catching up next week.
You too. Make sure to follow Matt Dixon, MD Trade. I used to think it was Dr. Trade, but I guess it stands for Matt Dixon. I'm not so fast sometimes. MD Trade, the Dr. Trade, or Matt Dixon Trade on X. Also, his company Evai, EVAI_IO, and that's evai.io. You can get on there for different ratings, and they're constantly improving that as well. And have a great weekend.
Yeah, we will. I promised we will actually do a show dedicated to how to use those ratings, because
awesome.
Everybody's got a portfolio of assets.
Yes.
A lot of people have got a portfolio of crypto assets. Are they the best assets, and are they put together in the proper ratio to give you the best risk-adjusted return? If they're not, then the Evai platform will give you the most efficient portfolio. That is guaranteed, because it's a formula basically. So looking forward to that. thank you again for having me, and enjoy the weekend. Catch up next week.
Talk soon.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. So we're on commercial on TV there in Texas. We're going to come back in here in a couple of minutes. I am trying to adhere to the commercial schedule, but it's a little hard to follow from our good friend over here. Let me just see how I'm doing. I think next week, yeah, it's on commercial right now. Next week we are going to start doing a bit more following these commercials. I just want to show everybody you can always watch us as well on smartmoneyculture.tv, and that is have that right over here. Just wanted to show you this commercial that
have you ever dreamed of going anywhere you want, whenever you?
That's Fly.
I don't
Fly
know about
Mackey right there.
cryptocurrency, but when I do, it's Bitcoin.
The SMC.
When we get rocketed into the fourth dimension, what happens is our spirit goes there so fast, it takes a minute for our body to catch up. Have you ever wanted to forgive somebody but just couldn't get the words out? It's because our body is not there yet. So the recommendation is this, and it's pretty simple. Just say it. The law of attraction comes from how we carry ourselves, not what we say. It's not about how big the house is or the bank account or what we've accomplished. Let others talk about that. Don't let the economy affect you. You affect the economy that you live in. You can't run from fears. You chase them.
Fly Mackey, the man with the plan. He's really doing a great job as well. And we are going to be on more and more TV stations throughout the country and the world. As a matter of fact, he's doing a lot of stuff. My computer was doing very well, but now it's lagging a little bit, huh?
Yeah, well, you really see the intentions from Fly Mackey, the intentions to help people, to help the economy, to help you do well, be successful, and really showcase a lot of these talented people that are working well. So he's looking to expand the networks. So we're working on the business economy network right now, and he's looking to do other subjects like food and agriculture, off-grid living, and other subjects like this. So we're really looking forward to the future with Fly.
The future. Speaking of the future, look at this. Look at this. I put this out yesterday. Amazon employs 1.5 million employees and utilizes 1 million robots to deliver products to your doorsteps within hours. How soon do you think until these drones are delivering packages instead of humans? Look at this. This is crazy. It looks like a human. let that play again while I talk. Just mute it. But pretty crazy, right? And this is what I talk about often. So all of these jobs that these robots are doing, these used to be jobs that humans were doing. Now maybe it's a new thing, right? Obviously, I don't know how your wife is. My wife got packages delivered all the time. My neighbors used to tell me it was epic. But I think most people do that now. Packages are delivered every day. Every day we get packages from Amazon.
Oh yeah, I've seen several delivery drivers for Amazon, and man, their book is stacked. They have no room for a break. They are running for several hours of the day. It's a busy job.
I'll tell you what's going to be interesting, David, and that is and it sounded like it happened the other day, even when they all got scared of ChatGPT. ChatGPT did something it wasn't supposed to do. But at a certain point, I'm not saying souls or anything like that, okay? But at a certain point, the robots are going to evolve to a point, and the AI evolves all the time, and they're gonna become aware. And that everything's going to change. It's going to be, I don't know if it's far off. It might not be far off.
Yeah, that music's not muted if you want to mute it.
Oh, the music's not muted?
No.
Huh. Well, anyway, it was muted for me. So that's how that works. So if I mute the tab, I thought it takes away the sound, but it doesn't.
I thought so too.
Interesting. Okay. I think it has, though, in the past, right?
It must be a glitch.
It's a glitch, David. All right, a couple other things I wanted to talk about here on my X feed as just current events that are affecting us. Massive explosion that we had here in I think Nairobi. Massive explosion at a gas plant near Skyline area in Embakasi, Nairobi, Kenya. 2 confirmed dead. That was as of last night. 165 injured. Now that war is spreading across the globe, do you think we'll see more strange explosions and mass shootings? Look at this. This is just a massive explosion here. Crazy. I was going to do it one more time. Just look at this. Wow. I think I talked about this yesterday. The Texas governor sending 1,000 troops. Maybe I didn't. This happened after our show. Governor DeSantis deploying 1,000 Florida National Guard soldiers to the Texas southern border. Have you ever heard of anything like this? Do you think this is significant?
Other things to keep illegal aliens out. We have stepped up probably more than any other state has stepped up, and we're proud to do that. However, we don't think this is enough. I believe that a state has a right to fortify its own borders. And so if Texas is helping to erect barriers, putting up razor wire, doing other things to keep illegal aliens out, I want to be helpful with them doing that. I don't want to be part of the federal government trying to tear down these barriers and let more people in illegally. This is crazy that this is the case. So today, we are going to fortify our presence along the southern border. We're providing up to 1 battalion of Florida National Guard, as well as our first ever deployment of the Florida State Guard. And the goal is to help Texas fortify this border, help them strengthen the barricades, help them add barriers, help them add the wire that they need to so that we can stop this invasion once and for all. And the states have to band together.
Stop this invasion. Remember when you weren't allowed to call it an invasion? Go ahead.
I had a bit of a realization about the razor wire fence is that's not really fortifying. Razor wire is supposed to go on top of a fence so that you can't.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, speaking of that, I mean, let's fence. I mean, let's look at. I think I pulled this one up. I don't know if it'll. Anyway, maybe if I put border.
You know, it's not
Yeah,
supposed to just
you're
lay
right.
on the ground. It's
Yeah, it's Well, and this is what we're dealing with. This is a pretty interesting report right here. This is old, but let's watch this.
I'm Efrain Gonzalez, correspondent with Berhag News. This is how mass migrant crossings are carried out at Eagle Pass.
Eagle Pass.
We followed this large group of migrants who left the only shelter that is open in Piedras
Actually,
Negras.
it's old. It's a different situation now. So although my man does report very well, I do want to move on from that. And I wanted to share the guy here. I forget his name from the DOD. Here he is. Defense Secretary Austin just now, this is yesterday, our soldiers were killed by Iranian agents. You get the feeling we're being fed another WMD scenario, which is weapons of mass destruction. Of course, that's with Bush and these guys.
Aftermath of the vile Hamas terrorist assault, the president will not tolerate attacks on American troops, and neither will I. Our teammates were killed by radical militias backed by Iran and operating inside Syria and Iraq. In the aftermath of the vile Hamas terrorist assault on Israel on October 7th, terrorist groups backed by Iran and funded by Iran have tried to create even more turmoil, including the Houthis attacking commercial shipping in the Red Sea. So this is a dangerous moment in the Middle East. We will continue to work to avoid a wider conflict in the region, but we will take all necessary actions to defend the United States, our interests, and our people. And we will respond when we choose, where we choose, and how we choose. Now, that's what everyone here is focused on.
And the war drums continue to be.
yeah.
I mean,
and I think that they forgot that Biden was already in office for 8 years before. So to say that he's not going to tolerate something that's not accurate.
what do you mean Biden was in office for 8 years?
I mean, he was the vice president.
Oh, right.
Obama
Okay.
for
Yeah.
8
He's been in
years.
there for like 50 years. I mean, this guy, I mean, he's done everything, right? This is another thing. I don't know if I showed this yesterday. I hate to even show it full screen because it's just such a propaganda piece. And so many guys died. But Ukraine sunk the Russian Black Fleet seas Ivanets MRK ship. And we're almost done out of time here anyway, but hit by a drone. Anyway, it's rough. Hey, yeah, it's crazy times, guys. Get involved. Okay, get involved in the monetary revolution. Go to @costmetals, @costmetals.club. That forwards over to a referral link. Get some gold, silver, palladium, platinum at cost. Also go to Global Boost. That's Global Boost with a dot between the O and the ST. Get involved. There's different exchanges on there. Just follow the links. The way that we take the power back, the way that we empower ourselves is through the monetary revolution. Central bank, as I explained yesterday, I'm going to cut that clip up and play it again, has taken over. The central banks have taken over our countries, taken over our governments. It's time to take the power back. David, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you, Bruce. Always a pleasure. We'll see you soon.
Talk soon.
Your voice is powerful. When combined with social engagement, it's a force for change. Decentralized media paired with free speech is the catalyst for an empowered world and a unified, invaluable ecosystem. Join Global Boost, become a champion of free speech, and help to reshape the future of media.